Hi, my name is Charles Malki, biologist and plant expert with Valdivia Organics, where we grow cool plants. And today we have the honor and privilege of being here with Edgar Valdivia, who is the leading educator and promoter of dragon fruit, as I like calling it, in the modern era. And thank you so much for having me here.
Thanks a lot.
On your property with all of these amazing varieties of dragon fruit, many of which were born here on your property through your efforts of cross-pollination, a lot of time, energy, and effort. And now you've even got some commercial varieties that are growing by the hundreds of thousands into orchards around the world. And what an honor and privilege to be with you and this opportunity to share dragon fruit knowledge with the world. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me say, dragon fruit, first of all, the real name is Pitahaya. And we've been discussing what name we will put it. And some people, they prefer dragon fruit because of the name. You know, dragon is something sensational and they want a name that will call the attention. Pitahaya is kind of a difficult, but the real name in Latin America is Pitahaya, and there are two types. This is Pitahaya, and then it's Pitaya, is the columnar type that grows in the deserts. You have to be careful when you hear Pitaya is columnar that grows in the desert in Arizona and the deserts of Mexico. It's a small fruit. It's like the Pitahaya, but this is small, but has thorns. And what we're going to concentrate today is in the Pitahaya, or it's called in the United States dragon fruit.
I want to clarify one more time, and I'm going to put even the spelling down below on the bottom of the screen. There's Pitahaya and then Pitaya.
Pitaya, yeah.
So it sounds the same, but the Pitaya is a columnar, meaning it's a vertically growing. I'm assuming it has to be a little bit thicker in order to support more upright growth.
And then don't need water.
And doesn't need as much water. But I feel like even succulents and cactus need water too. Some water, even if it's from the moisture in the air. But it started off in Central and South America, and I know you're going to explain to us the countries and the different colors that it came from. But Pitahaya, as it's originally called in Latin America, is the now known dragon fruit. And hopefully you can explain to us how the fruit originated in South America and eventually became named the dragon fruit.
Okay, let me tell you, the dragon fruit of Pitahaya normally grew up in Central America, in Guatemala, Nicaragua, and part of Colombia. And then when the French peoples many years ago, they were in Central America, they took cuttings to Vietnam. Vietnam, in that time, they introduced the Pitahaya and then become very popular in Vietnam. Actually, in the Asian countries, the Pitahaya or dragon fruit is the #1 fruit that they eat it so much. But when I started working in the United States in the dragon fruit, and I started doing campaign to introduce the dragon fruit to the public and make aware that this wonderful fruit exists and people say have to grow, then little by little, it took me so many years to try to make the people aware the existence of the fruit, but it's very difficult to do that because mostly the farmers, they don't want to grow a fruit that they say, okay, I'm going to grow this fruit and nobody is going to buy it because they don't know the fruit. But remember, California especially is a melting pot. You know, we have people from different cultures.
The whole world is here.
The whole world, and we have a lot of Asians, Latin Americans from everywhere in here in this country. And they know those fruits. That's why now it's good to get into the different type of semi-tropical fruits that they grow in other countries, introduce into the United States, because now it's a market. It's a buyer that will buy those fruits. And plus, besides, let me tell you this. You know, when you cut a regular fruit like this, look how it looks, the skin. And when you cut the fruit, look how beautiful color it is.
I mean, that's magnificent.
This color will attract your eye. Look how beautiful that color is. Automatically will attract your eye to buy it.
Yeah, this makes me happy.
And then tasted this particular fruit, and you tell me, How you like that fruit?
There you go. And then it's like a piece of heaven. It's delicious. The sweetness is not overpowering. I was explaining to you, when it comes to fruit, I usually like the sugarier, the better, the sweeter, the better, like cherries being, one extreme of sweet fruit. But this here just has an amazing fruit flavor, and it's just not overpowering with sugar like otherwise a cherry would be. So my vote is for the person that loves fruit but doesn't necessarily crave sugars. This is the ideal fruit. And I know in my research as well, when it comes to dragon fruit, that people that are diabetic or need to avoid fruity and sugary foods, the dragon fruit is an excellent substitute of, health and nutrition, antioxidants, which fight cancer, and so many more benefits. And I'm gonna put a lot of those links to this research that I've done that you can see down below in the comments.
And plus, besides, we have different colors.
Yeah.
Look, this one.
So this one would be described as, I'm thinking color
This
is like almost
magenta.
It's a magenta.
Magenta.
Take a look at that one more time.
Look at another one. This red one. This is Tricia. I developed this one.
Again, what's the name of this one we just ate?
That is that's from the Guatemala line. That is Condor.
Okay, so this variety we first tasted is called Condor. And let me just get some of this water out. I want you to see the outside of the skin as well. It's very juicy. Check out the skin or the scales on that dragon fruit. So here we have is the Condor, which we first tasted, and now we're gonna taste the Tricia variety, which is a variety that Edgar created and developed by crossing some excellent parents of dragon fruit. And here are the scales again on the Tricia, and here's the scales on the Condor. So you can compare the two. And again, when creating a new flavor, you usually want to start off with two amazing parents, taking the pollen of an amazing variety. You can share with us how you did it, but the pollen or the male part of one flower to the ovary fruit of another, again, successful, delicious tasting fruit, and then you created the Tricia variety.
Correct.
That's awesome. Here we go.
Completely different.
Completely different. Still delicious. It's got a crispiness that, not quite like an apple, but it's firm, and it's got excellent texture. I'm truly enjoying this experience. 500% better than that store-bought dragon fruit I bought a few months ago. What's the difference between the dragon fruit I'm eating here today and that store-bought dragon fruit that I found,
Well,
at the grocery store?
Normally, the one is very popular, is being sold in the grocery stores, is the one that comes from Vietnam. It's the pulp inside is white, and it's very low in sugar flavor. So, and here in the United States, we prefer mostly the sweet. We like the fruit tasting good and with that sweet flavor. So that's why we try to promote and to grow different types with different flavors. But let me tell you what happened right now in the production of the Vietnamese type. Once we start working a lot in the dragon fruit, then you have to remember every country in the whole world is looking what America is doing, always, not only in fruits, but only in technology.
Technology.
And so what they say, Americans, they like dragon fruit. So they say, oh my God, and you gain $8 from one fruit. So it's good money for the foreign countries to grow that particular fruit. So that's why now Vietnam and China, all those countries, they producing dragon fruit in big quantities, and they exporting it now to the United States. But since they realize that we don't like that so much, the low flavor, no sugar, and now they start getting our different types of fruits that we develop, and they growing it now in Vietnam, these red ones and these magenta color.
colors.
And you know what they doing now, because now they can do grafting. So that's the good part now that is being developed, and now the way of doing grafting. If you have a white plant that produces the Vietnamese type, you can cut it and graft it the red type. And then now they do it I just saw a movie, they do it in like assembly line. They grafting plants. So all their production is trying to change into the red type that will fit more into the market, to the public. So it's changing a lot the direction of the dragon fruit, because now they have grafting systems that they can, in one single plant example, you can have 3 different types of dragon fruits. That is very good, that's been developed.
So just to quickly explain to those watching that the reason for grafting is you're using the same rootstock, established dragon fruit rootstock. By grafting on it, you can just expect more growth. It'll grow faster because the roots are already there, and you'll have fruit in a much shorter period of time with higher production. And that's the reason they're just converting their white dragon fruit orchards to white dragon fruit rootstock that is now supporting these more colorful varieties, which are more better selling varieties than compared to the white ones. And how about in regards to flavor? You're saying that the colored ones are more sweet generally than the white variety. Is that the case too?
No, and now we have a white too.
So there's white sweet varieties too.
We have the one George. We have in here this white. It's completely different than the Vietnamese line that was developed in here, and that is a sweet flavor. So remember, the white one is low in sugar, so it's good for the people that they have diabetic. Then we have the pink ones that they're very sweet, very tasty. They love it. And we have the red ones. This one completely red, high in antioxidants.
The magenta, yeah, the more colors. You're mentioning also, we're talking about pomegranates also. You said like the black ones are worth way more because they're just loaded with more, just that much more nutrition, antioxidants, and value to our health, and there's a demand for that.
I don't say that will cure cancer, but helps you to build your immune system. You know, the more antioxidants you take, and mostly the fruits that they have red color, they're rich in antioxidants. So try to choose what type of fruits you're eating. Always try to eat healthy. And thanks now that the technology is going so good in the computers, you know, we have YouTube. You can go Google and you can find out anything about any particular fruit that you wanted. So eat healthy. And all of us, we eating healthy. That's why now we live longer, because, you know, we are more conscious what we eat ourselves. And well, we're going to go in now to try to tell you how we can grow the dragon fruit. You can reproduce the dragon fruit even from seed. Look, this particular dragon fruit inside, they have maybe 1,000 seeds. And each seed that is in this particular, when you plant it, will grow and will give you different. Look how they grow from seed like this.
Check that out. Look at those little babies.
Yeah, they are growing from seed. But remember, when you grow from seed, that will take you 5 years to get production.
So in 5 years, you can expect fruit. But you can also start by taking cuttings.
And by cuttings, you let it dry for almost 1 week. Then you plant it just a little bit in a good soil, and then you keep it in the shade, and then after that, it starts growing. And by cuttings, you will have fruit in 3 years or 2.5 years. They will produce. They grow faster.
So this cutting over here, do you mind if I take it?
Oh yeah, you can take it. That is George. Matter of fact, it's a white, very sweet.
Thank you. I was just about to ask. So this is a white variety of the dragon fruit.
George.
And it's called George, is the variety?
Yes.
And again, the helpful tip for those of you that get your hands on cuttings of dragon fruit is to allow it, you said, to dry. The cut end, you can see here, would be the cut end of the dragon fruit. You want it to dry, you said, for about a week?
1 week. And then build colors. And then you can put it in 1 gallon pot, and with a good soil, and try to use a lot of perlite. So the water gets out of it.
You want fast drainage.
Because remember, you don't have any roots, and it's very easy to get rotten if you put too much water.
Got it.
So don't put too much water, and they keep it in the shape, and in 2 months you will start seeing new roots that they come. It's very easy to grow from cuttings. That's why it's very, very popular. And now the dragon fruit, because everybody is getting cuttings and start everybody growing in their backyards. The only thing you have to be careful is the weather. You know, they need sun. They don't need too much sun, and they need some shade. And they don't need too much. Remember, this is a semi-tropical plant, so California is not a tropical
Oh,
state.
good point. I wanted to emphasize the fact that being a tropical plant, and then the other point being, we talked at the beginning about the Pitahaya and then the Pitaya. Again, I want to emphasize the Pitaya is the one that is columnar, vertical, and then the Pitahaya is more of like a vine type grower, and we're gonna see he's got close to 100 varieties throughout the garden, which I'm going to show you how they kind of grow, how they create air roots, and just the different systems that you can put in place. But you'll see how it like latches and grows onto the structures, and the best way to kind of allow it to grow habit-wise, and also to grow in a way that you can keep the fruit within reach, because it's also easy to allow this vine, as I've seen in some of the trees, you've allowed it to catch on as they would in nature, which we're going to see some examples. That would be similar to what would happen in the wild, where you said it latches onto a tree, and then even if the roots get dislodged, it'll still hold onto the tree and survive with all of the air roots holding on to the bark of another tree, for instance.
Yes, correct. And another thing you have to know is that in the beginning, the flower was white, always white, and the flower opens at nighttime, at 8 o'clock at the night, and closes at 8 o'clock in the morning. So for you, it's good to collect at nighttime the pollen. Remember, all the flowers, no matter what type of fruit, they have two sexes. They have the male and the female part. And the male part is where the pollen is. It's called anthers. And the female part is the female part of the flower is the stigma. So what you have to do, you have to put the pollen into the stigma. Somehow the pollen has to go there. And since normally who does the pollination and all the different fruits is the bees. The bees help to pollinate so much. But the problem with the dragon fruit or Pitahaya is that the flower opens nighttime. So it's difficult. We don't have insects at nighttime. The only thing can do pollination is bats. You know, the bats, they fly at nighttime, and then we have the moth. It's a special moth that goes there in nighttime and can do pollination. So, but we don't have those. So automatically, you have to cross to pollinate the Pitahaya flower yourself. Even collect the pollen nighttime, like I say, and then you can save the pollen in the refrigerator for 5 days, and then go pollinate in the morning and daytime.
I just want to re-emphasize a couple of the points you just said, being that the Pitahaya, also known as the dragon fruit more commonly now, is a type of plant that blooms only at night. There's no blossoms during the day. Correct. And even though the bees are the primary pollinators for pretty much all of our food sources, whether they be fruits or vegetables or flowers in the garden, but these flowers specifically bloom at night and close during the day. So the bees that are typically working all day are asleep at night when these are blooming. So we got to rely more so on now the moth or other insects to do the pollination for us. And if they're not around, now we've got to go around with a brush and hand pollinate at night these flowers in order to ensure fruiting success. And again, when do the flowers bloom, roughly?
Normally the dragon fruit, they start pushing flowers in the end of July, and will give you flowers 4 times. Remember, that's why it's a very good fruit for business, because mostly the trees, they will give fruits only once and will last you for 20 days. The dragon fruit start flowering and the end of July up to November. So you have 4 times that the flowers come. So you can get 4 productions of fruits. And the fruit normally, let me tell you this, from when you see the little bud, that the bottom, that the flower is going to come up, till the point that the flower opens, takes 30 days.
Wow.
Once you do the pollination or cross-pollination, then takes another 30 days for the fruit to be like this red. So the whole cycle of the fruit is 60 days.
That's amazing. That's very fast.
So then you can have a very good production. Normally, let me tell you, with a regular plant that is 5 years old, you can get at least 10 fruits every season, every push. you know, and since you have four pushes a year, so you will have 40 fruits from one plant. So estimate 40 plants, $8 a price. But normally, if you the farmer don't get $8. You know, normally they get $4. But that's a good product to be making money.
An excellent investment for sure,
Yeah.
and something definitely worthwhile, and definitely worth that water, right? When you come home from work and watering your plants, an excellent return on investment. Being you're going to get up to 4 yields per year. But you also mentioned that the more tropical your weather, like the ideal weather would be South Florida or wherever there's, you know, more humid, more year-round warm climate, you'll actually get the most successful for yields for crops per year. But in more temperate climates, such as us here in Southern California,
you will get
that it could be closer to 2, right? Like half as productive, but still 2 crops per year is still
plenty.
Amazing compared to pretty much all your other fruit trees. It's just 1 crop per year.
Yes, like you see example. Then let me say something to you guys too, that in the beginning the flower was white, so then we cross-pollinated, and now we have the flower. Look how beautiful this color of the flower is.
That's
red.
amazing.
And here you can see how nice is the white flower and the red flower. So and now we have a red flower. So if you are into flowers, you can grow this particular Pitahaya for the flower.
Yeah.
But at nighttime they have a nice aroma. The flower, it smells very good, and that's why it attracts the bats. But has to be pollinated, and mostly the plants, they have to be cross-pollinated. Be careful with that word, pollination. Cross-pollination is that mean that the flower, the own pollen of the flower will work with there. You have to get the pollen from another variety to make that work. So always when I recommend when you start growing dragon fruit, get 3 cuttings from 3 different types. So you can get the pollen from one flower, put into the other one, because the pollen from the own plant, that don't work. You have to cross-pollinate, get from the other plant variety and put it in there. So simple, just cut the stigma is right there, and then once you put the pollen in here, then actually the flower takes, the pollen goes all the way down to the ovary, takes 3 days. And 3 days is down there in the ovary, so you can cut the flower and use the flower to make a soup. You know, in the Asian countries, they make a soup, they use it in cooking, so many different things. So, because once the pollination is going down to the ovary and the fruit start forming, you don't need the flower at all.
That's fantastic. I just want to emphasize real quick now on cross-pollination. The concept with the dragon fruit is similar to, there's many varieties of apples that require cross-pollination in order to even have apples. Plums is another one that comes to mind. Some varieties you can't have plums unless you have another variety of plums. And the point being, even if you have an entire orchard of the same variety, that does not accomplish cross-pollination. You basically want to select from 2 different, but still within the same genus.
Family, and different family.
Or as some people call it, as same family. But the point is that they're related, but they're not identical. Because if they're identical, like cuttings, for example, if I take 2 cuttings off of this and turn this into 2 Pitahayas or 2 dragon fruit, and I'm going to use the pollen from, you know, this plant to pollinate that plant, it's the same, and that won't accomplish. The key word is cross-pollination. Cross-pollination is between different plants, as you can see here, between the pink and the white. So you're going to take the pollen from one and add it to the stigma or the ovary of the other, and that's going to accomplish the pollination between the 2 fruits.
Yeah, but since you realize that there's sometimes a lot of work for the people to get up and start pollinating nighttime, all those things are collectible. We are working in now to try to make plants that they are self-fertile, that they don't have to be cross-pollinated. And so far we achieved that. We have a guy that is doing a lot of work in that. His name is Gray Martin, is in Rainbow. He has his ranches over there, and he has quite a few already. They are self-fertile.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I myself, and here I have quite a few already that I developed that they are self-fertile, you know, so you don't have to do cross-pollination. So they will be able to pollinate themselves.
That's fantastic.
And the good part, remember this, nature is already so smart that any plant is already made to be able to produce by herself. Because remember, in the beginning the flower gets up, stand up. And then when it starts next day in the morning, is going down. The flower bends down. And then as the flower bends down, the anthers that they are below the stigma, let's say that's the stigma, is sticking out 2 inches apart from the anthers. So it's difficult that the pollen will reach there. But since the flower bends, automatically, next day in the morning, the pollen will fall down into the stigma.
So it's still being forced. As the flower is dying, it's accomplishing fertilization.
By nature.
Nature.
But that is the amazing part of this particular thing. That's why in the Asian countries where the weather is very tropical, they have a lot of humidity, the pollen is still alive almost 2 days in the flower. And here in my city, in Simi Valley or in California, we have too much heat that the pollen in nighttime is fresh, is good, but after 5 hours or 4 hours, the pollen is no good anymore. It's dry, completely dry. Remember, heat, temperature is a lot of work needed for pollination. It's same even with the women or whatever, has to be certain times and temperature to be able to conceive. Same the plants. The pollen is not working because the pollen is dry. So it's good to collect the pollen early, the soon the flower is open, so then you will be able to save the pollen in the refrigerator. So use it next day. You can use it for 5 days. Not in the freezer, in the refrigerator. Okay? That's very important for everybody to know that you can save the pollen and do. But little by little, believe me, we're going to have plants that they will self-fertile, and all of them with an excellent flavor. We have so many people say now, the dragon fruit becomes so popular in United States, and now, in the beginning, let me tell you, there were only 6 people involved in the dragon fruit 22 years ago. That's it.
Wow.
And then now we have, right now in California, maybe we have around maybe 200 acres already growing.
Wow.
And everybody, almost, I will say maybe 10% of the population of California, they have a little cutting growing in their backyards. It become very popular. So I will say maybe in 5 more years will be this particular fruit very popular in California.
Well, I already see it at a lot of the grocery stores. I don't know if you've also been fortunate enough across the country to see these, but it's making its way into a lot of the grocery stores. And anybody, we already talked in an episode we already published earlier, where you and your wife Pat educated us on how to join the California Rare Fruit Growers group, and how many people are part of this family of rare fruit growers?
We are in the California Rare Fruit, we have 2,500 members.
So there's about 2,500 in California, and I know it's now reaching into Arizona, into Texas. There's a few chapters, and it's an opportunity for people to share, and the cost is nominal, somewhere between about $30 to $40 per year. And you can find a chapter, and you can make friends, and you can share, your passion and your hobby and the things you're growing in your backyard. Just as when I met Edgar a couple of years ago in 2017, again through the California Rare Fruit Growers, I got a tour of his backyard and got to see, pretty much the Garden of Eden, all of the fruit trees, and and all these, again, medicinal plants, also healthy and nutritious for your body, being picked the same minute, and all the benefits of that fruit and vegetable going into our bodies and just nourishing ourselves in a way that you can never get going to the store where the fruit was harvested, green, unripe, days, weeks, months ago, until it finally lands at the grocery store counter. And that's the reason a lot of flavor is missing. And again, these are honestly the best dragon fruit I have ever tasted ever. And I'm so excited about now incorporating dragon fruit into my home garden, knowing that you said it has a retail value of how much?
To be sold from the farmers is $4, and in the market you can sell it for $7 or $8.
So wholesale is $4, and then retail somewhere between $7 and $8 and I've seen and I've paid that much for dragon fruit in the past. And for a bad tasting dragon fruit, I was like, not so good. But these are actually quite sweet, but not, again, as sweet as an apple, not as sweet as cherries and peaches. This has a unique sweetness, which again delivers the health of a fruit without the overpowering sweetness. And then again, as Edgar has shared with us, that selection is driving the dragon fruit towards accomplishing some sweeter varieties, such as a couple you've also created as well, if you want to share with us.
And I want to tell you guys, when you go into the market, the good part is now that in California we have a rule that all the fruits, they have to have the sticker from where it comes from. So mostly the stickers you will see is from Vietnam. So try to get the ones that they are grown in California. They have California grow. So those they grow in California, they are completely better flavor. So
good point.
A good point that they now, you know what you buying and from which country it's coming from. Mostly now that you will be able to see now that it's getting very popular is the yellow dragon fruit that comes from Colombia, and now it's growing in Ecuador, and the Palora coming in the markets. This is completely very sweet fruit.
Wow.
Very sweet. But the problem with this particular fruit cannot be grown so well in California because it's very tropical. Very tropical. And another point is, I mentioned to you guys, from bottom to ready to pick up the fruit is 60 days. And this one, from bottom to ready to pick up the fruit, is 7 months.
Oh no.
Takes a long time.
Wow.
So, and then another setback for us is that this particular fruit has a lot of thorns, big thorns around. So it's very difficult to take it out.
Oh, you mean there's thorns all over the fruit?
Yes.
So kind of like a cactus pear.
Yes, big.
Whereas these, the dragon fruit, don't have any thorns at all. You can hold this all you want, but I know that cactus pears are very prickly, and you got to usually handle it with tongs in order to peel it and harvest it, and it's kind of a nuisance fruit,
So
even though delicious again.
You see this particular fruit very popular now in the markets. It's getting it now from South America. So what we're doing now is we use the pollen of this particular plant to cross with ours, so we will put more flavor into our fruit.
I love it.
And so it's not only me. There are a lot of people that they are working in the dragon fruit, that they're trying to doing the experiments. Even right now,
the goal, and I just want to emphasize, if you can hold that picture of the yellow fruit real quick. So the goal now is to take the yellow dragon fruit, also known as the yellow Pitahaya, and basically taking the pollen either from the yellow variety or even taking the pollen from one of these varieties and cross-pollinating it with the ovaries of a different dragon fruit to hopefully get the sweetness, but without, I'm sure they're trying to select out the thorns, and which makes it less appealing to the consumer that they have to get through. Wow, that is a very prickly fruit.
you see the thorns?
Yeah, that's a very sharp fruit.
Very difficult to handle with the thorns.
But you said the sweetness is higher.
Yeah, completely very sweet.
So a sweeter fruit, longer ripening season. So I'm sure that the goal with selection now is to get the sweetness and still get fruit that's going to go from bud to fruit in 60 days. So you want faster, sweeter, safe to handle fruit. And that's going to be obviously coming in the near future. And we're going to be waiting on you to discover and accomplish this for us.
Another thing that so many people they doing, we have an example, Richard Lee, that and Paco is working now to graft. You see, you can get the tip of this particular plant. Normally you have to wait 5 years to get fruit of this. They grafting this little thing in an existing plant.
I want to share that. Hopefully the video can see this.
They cut it like this, and then they put in the new tip of the young plant in here. Actually, this will grow, and this particular plant will give you fruit in 2 years. You don't have to wait 5 years.
You don't have to wait 5 years by grafting
to the old plant.
That's fantastic.
It's amazing how they doing that.
I know a lot of these grafting tips, and this is an excellent time to also pitch the education that's offered by also your friend Richard Lee of grafting dragon fruits, and you can check out his YouTube channel as well, where he also demonstrates grafting what we're demonstrating here very simply.
So easy.
Yeah, but again, for the more details, I would actually recommend you go to, again, Richard with grafting dragon fruit, and I'll put that link down below as well in the comments, so you can
And,
click on that and follow all of that education
there are
videos
quite
to
a
make
few
available.
guys, and the good part, I am very happy that mostly the people say we working in the dragon, we were old timers like I am. I am 80 years old. And now we have a young blood, we have young guys, that they working in the dragon, and they are doing a lot of research. They really very enthusiastic, and they really go for it. That's why the dragon fruit has a good future in California, and maybe 10 years it will be a very popular fruit in United States, and one more fruit for the poor farmers, because that's another thing, the farmers, they have a very problem with the water. It's very expensive water. Avocado plants, farmers, they've been shutting down because it's not enough the production to be able to pay the water.
Now avocados, almonds, a lot of fruits they're consuming too much water.
That's why the university is working very hard to introduce brand new products, fruits that they don't need water. And one of these is dragon fruit. They don't need too much water. If avocado needs 30 gallons of water, with 2 gallons of water, you can grow the dragon fruit very easy. Another fruit that you can grow with no water is pomegranates. They don't need water, and very good. So that's what the universities are trying to introduce to the farmers, these new products that they will need water, because we're getting into the problem that the weather is changing, and we're going to run into the problem of water. Water is the main source for nutrition for the plants, but if we can create a new plant that they don't need too much water, and they will give you excellent fruit, the people will be happy, and plus besides, they will be eating healthy fruits that they are good for your health.
Very delicious. Can we take a tour at some of the dragon fruits you've got growing here on your property?
Yes, I hope so. You guys can see it. We don't have too many. Let me tell you, I am not a commercial grower. Backyard grower, and I love to do my experiments with different type of fruits. I have in my backyard maybe 80 different type of fruits, very rare fruits that you cannot find it so easy. But I want to show you too how you can grow commercial, the different types of ranches, and now that they grow in commercial plantations of dragon fruit. A lot of farmers and now they're going to and growing this particular plant, and like I say, it's going to be very popular, little by little.
That's great. And I like this picture also you shared with us. Over here.
Yeah, it's a white and red flower.
The white and the red.
Yeah. So now
and here's
we
another
have another ranch. This another fancy ranch. How beautiful. And they are close to here, they are in Moore Park.
The thing that I like about this, and I only published one educational lesson on dragon fruit, and we discussed about, in regards to planting dragon fruit, should we put them in the ground or should we put them in containers? And I'm looking here at a farm with probably 100 dragon fruit, and they're all where?
They are mostly in pots.
They're mostly in pots. How about you? What's your practice?
My problem is in pots, because my soil is clay. It's very hard, and plus besides, rabbits and gophers, they love these roots. So that's why I put it in pots myself, all my plants, because they are more protected. They can grow very easy in pots. They don't have a big root system. They have like a grass root system, shallow roots, and they don't need a big space. And remember, once you start getting into the dragon fruit business or growing in your backyard, the plant can last up to 60 years. My plants, as you can see in here, they are 22 years old.
Wow. And this is awesome. I'm thinking about even the person that has no land, right?
Yes.
We always think about the person that's like, I live in an apartment, I can't grow anything. And here you're saying, here's a fruit that will actually do better in a container than it will in the ground for a couple of reasons. Clay, I expected you to say, but I didn't know that gophers and rabbits would be attracted to the roots too. Yes. So the fact that it's now protected and also grows better in a container than in the ground, that's awesome and helpful, useful information.
But then remember, all the plant, mostly the main sources of nutrition are nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That's the main one. But you have to, once in a while, every 3 months, put some kind of fertilizer into the plant, because the plant needs nutrition. Same like you guys. You need to eat good steaks, you need some vitamins to your body. The plants too is a living creature and needs to have nutrition. So you have to, once in a while, every 3 months, put fertilizers. And if you want to be picky and that you don't want to eat chemicals, you know, you can go into organic fertilizers. I think you have a very good, you're trying to sell very good type of organic fertilizers. You can use it in your plants. You put 1 handful in there every 3 months, and they will have nutrition enough to give you plenty fruit. And remember this, you are the boss in your garden. The plant grows according to the way you want it. You prune it. If you don't like high plants, you prune it. You want it in a nice, beautiful shape in your backyard or whatever, you shape it the way you want it. You are the boss. Don't let the plant do whatever she want to do.
I love
you
that.
are the boss, and you prune it, and you give it different shape. And mostly now we're teaching that mostly the plants has to be 6 foot tall, because it has to be at the reach of your hand. Because you don't want to expose yourself to climb into a ladder, then you're going to fall down, break your neck. You can, and especially the dragon fruit, you can grow it, yes, very short, maximum 5 feet, because remember, if you had to do hand pollination, you had to be able to do touching the flowers.
So you mentioned the 3 nutrients that the plants need. Or what are the 3?
NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium.
So nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. I want to share with you this gift, which I'm also giving to you today, brought to you by Organics. This here is our trio set, which includes the fertilizer being the 6 macros plus, as well as the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 plant guard. We're going to talk about that when we visit some of the sunburn, sun-stressed dragon fruits here on your property that, you know, endured some of the stress during the summer. And this here is the 3-in-1 plant guard ready to use spray that you can use pretty much as a sunblock, you know, to protect your plants or during transplant shot. But what I wanted to share with this, being that we're talking about fertilizers, is that plants, and we're not just talking about dragon fruit, but pretty much all plants, if you take a look at the macronutrients, or the nutrients that plants need in abundance, most fertilizers are surrounded around the NPK, but this gives the plants all of the macronutrients plants need, which include the nitrogen, the phosphorus, the potassium, and also magnesium, sulfur, and calcium. Magnesium is also very important for the plant greenness. Sulfur is important also for the greening of the plant, a lot of the metabolic processes of the plant. And calcium is in all of the cell walls of every single plant cell. So it's important to make sure that the soil has a lot of also calcium, and this here delivers all of the macronutrients. So this here is the 6 macros plus. You can mix it also with water, 1 tablespoon to a gallon of water, and this 11.8 ounce bag can make up to 20 gallons of fertilizer. You can also mix it with your compost tea, and so on and so forth. And all of this is my gift to you, and thank you so much again for your...
My plants are going to love it, and I'm going to try to see it really works very good. And if I have a lot of fruit, I will say thanks to you that brought me that wonderful fertilizing, and my plants, they give more fruit now.
No, you're very welcome.
Try to use fertilizing for your plants always. Remember, the plants, they need nutrition. It's not only the soil.
Well, you feed them and they
give you back.
And they feed us. So it just makes sense. Well, let's take a tour of some of the plants, and I know you're going to talk about the height and how to keep them manageable size. Okay. So let's go and check that out.
And you meet a wonderful people. Like today, I just met
I wouldn't have known you had an
man
open for this.
and talk, everything related to the fruits. So it's a good you get into the hobby of horticulture.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so very much. And again, I'm going to put that link to Edgar's YouTube channel, Edgar Valdivia, at the end of this lesson, as well as you'll find them in the comments. If you found this helpful and educational for you and you've learned something new, please give us a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the push bell notification so you get notified of these educational lessons as soon as they be made available. As always, keep growing with Ivory Organics, and wishing you all happy gardening.
Goodbye.